How often have you found yourself in a situation where you have data trapped somewhere in a PDF or some document, and you would really like to use that data, play with it, but you can't because it's a PDF? That's exactly what I ran into today. And let me show you what I did to overcome that. So I think one feature of those AI apps like ChatGPT or Claude that's really underused and underutilized is the ability to create quick, small, interactive apps for personal use. So nothing that you publish, but really something that you use just for yourself in your everyday work. And one example here is this data set that I got from a provider called Moneyland. It's showing a bunch of credit card providers, 24 credit card providers with different features of their credit cards. I'm currently on the lookout for a business credit card, and I'm really trying to compare a bunch of features across the different providers. The Moneyland data set is great. They're doing a great job compiling all of that, but unfortunately, it's in a PDF, which really makes it hard to compare the different features that I'm looking for. So what I thought I'd do is I build an app to compare those different cards and give me the ones that really are interesting for me. And so I went ahead and gave Claude just a bit of context. Claude, if you don't know it, is an app like ChatGPT. You could do something similar with ChatGPT as well. So I'm describing the document, what's in there. I am telling it to create a interactive app that I can use to compare the various features. I'm telling it the different interactions that I want to do. So anything that's numerical, I would like to filter with a slider. Everything else could be a toggle. And then in the end, because the PDF has a whole bunch of information that's not relevant for me or that I don't care a lot about, I just give it a bit of context, what I'm looking for in terms of the information that's in there and what I would like to have in the app in the end. Let's see what it does with these instructions. All right, let's see. It's thinking. And it's telling me it's creating an interactive tool. That's exactly what I want. I'll make this a little bit bigger here. And you can see it's starting to write code in the same way that a human would write code. This might take a minute or two. So let's actually fast forward until it's done. Okay, it's about 2 minutes later, and it seems like it's gotten to a pretty good result. In the meantime, it had an error. It was able to fix the error itself, so nothing that I had to do on my part. And the result is pretty much the interactive app that I was specifying in the original prompt. So it's giving me the comparison of those business credit cards in Switzerland with sliders for numerical values. So we can go and start using it right ahead. I don't want to pay more, let's say, than 100 francs per year. So an annual fee of 100. I don't want to pay more than, let's say, 1.2% in foreign currency fee whenever I purchase something that's not in Swiss francs. I don't care about whether or not the bank account is required or not for now, but I do care about that it has Apple Pay. And let's just focus on credit cards. And so what's interesting, in the end, out of the 24 cards that it has, or that has data on, it's giving me the 2 cards that satisfy all of my requirements. And so within, what was that, maybe 4 minutes, I was able to have an app that I can play with that gives me the information I want. I can, of course, now go ahead and if I don't like how this is shown, for example, I could go and say like, show yes, no values nicer with icons and red, green. I'm just trying to do something to show how you would operate with this app. Because what's nice is that if you have an initial result that we just saw, the interactive app, you can start iterating on top of that. The same way a software developer would iterate on his existing software, you give it more instructions specific to the result that you see. And again, within just a few seconds, I was able to show this a bit nicer. This is really useful for, again, small impromptu use cases, something where you feel like, hey, I want to touch the data and play with it. This is not something that you use for months at a time, that you publish. So really something more as a personal tool that would help you in your everyday work. Maybe a word with regards to the data. This is information that is available, that is publicly available. So I would never, of course, use this with personal or personally identifiable information, anything that is subject to an NDA, anything that has customer or client information. So common sense, of course, applies to the type of data that you provide those AI tools with. But by and large, if you have a data set that's not too sensitive, you can build interactive apps pretty quickly, and you can touch and interact with the data much better than if it's trapped in a PDF or somewhere in a document that you otherwise couldn't really use it the same way. Maybe last thing, what could you use this else for? I've had a pretty good experience using vendor information. So when I had an RFP out for a vendor, I got 4 results back. I was able to add all 4 documents with fees and contractual obligations and so on, and was able to provide a pretty good overview over the 4. Claude is doing an amazing job at extracting the information required and then compiling it in the way that I specify in the initial prompt. So let me know if you have use cases like that. I'm curious if you've played with those interactive apps or artifacts, and I'll see you soon.